Have you ever thought about how weird ocean animals look? I'm sure we all have, whether we've thought about like the blobfish or the gulper eel or the goblin shark. There are a lot of ocean creatures that kind of look like aliens. You look at it and you wonder, how is this thing even alive? Well, today I think I'm bringing one of the most interesting organisms to light, and it's called the Siphonophore. These little guys. Let's see. Siphonophores mostly live in like the deep sea. They act as passive hunters for krill and plankton. They're really, really important towards the ecosystem because of just how much plankton they eat all the time. They're a very abundant species as well because there's 175 different types of Siphonophore. But today I'm going to be discussing what a Siphonophore is, how they differ from other organisms like them, and how they blur the line between what is an individual and what is a community. So what exactly is a Siphonophore? There are these guys. Siphonophores are described as colonial organisms. And the difference between colonial organisms and individual organisms is like this. You see right here we have a photo of a coral, which would be considered a colonial organism. It's alive, but it's made up of all these little bits that depend on each other. And an individual organism would be like this fish right here, because it's just one singular being. But, let's see. Rachel Armstrong, in 2019, she was the author of a book on the effects of living and thinking through liquids, stated that Siphonophores are spectacular colonial creatures that challenge the singular nature of being. Their precarious organization, reminiscent of a feather boa, evades clear and efficient explanation. Most Siphonophore species are described as long and thin and translucent, with multiple tentacles and ribbons and bells attached. 91% of species are also documented to use bioluminescence, which makes sense since they live in the deep sea. They use it to ward off predators and lure in prey. But yeah. You can see right here, this is the bioluminescence that they use. You can see how it stands out from against the background. And all these like little tentacles, like right here at the end, those are gastrozoids that they use for digestion and capturing prey. But, let's see. What makes them so different from other colonial organisms like coral? Well, Siphonophore are exceedingly complex compared to like organisms like coral. According to Casey Dunn in 2005, Siphonophore provides an example of how precise colony-level organization can arise. It illustrates that the morphological complexity of cnidarians is greater than is often assumed. You can see right here. You can see right here like the main differences between how Siphonophore and coral like develop. You see right here they develop side by side and they tend to look the same. But the level of specialization in Siphonophore is way more intricate and complex. So things like coral, they'll have like different parts dedicated to like feeding and grabbing food and everything, but they won't have like the level of zooids that Siphonophore do. Siphonophore have all of these separate parts dedicated to things like swimming and reproduction and capturing prey, almost like a parody of organs. But most colonial organisms are also stuck in the ocean substrate. They're entirely passive and they depend on the water current to bring them food. Siphonophore operate out in the open water. They are active hunters, which is freaky. The division of labor in between each part is way more complex than anything we see with coral. They have more differences with how like each job is specialized and how they are not stationary. But with all of their differences compared to other colonial organisms, it calls into question, what does it mean to be an individual? Like, what does it mean to be a person? But Siphonophores consistently confuse and perplex researchers. They're hard to capture. They don't tend to survive in captivity. But one of the biggest questions it asks is, where do we draw the line on what it means to be an individual? Geo Mackey, in 1988, a marine biologist, stated that the Siphonophore paradox does have an answer of sorts, and a profound one at that. The answer is that we asked the wrong question. Are Siphonophores organisms or colonies? Both and neither. They lie in the middle of a continuum where one grades into the other. So while siphonophores are technically labeled as a colonial organism, they are different enough to make us question what it truly means to be an individual entity. Would all the zooids be classified as different organs, like the ones for eating, the ones for swimming, the ones just for reproduction? Or are they separate living beings all on the same little string? The answer is both and neither. But Siphonophore are a very weird subgroup of ocean life, to the point where I question how they even evolved in the first place. They will continue to confound researchers probably for as long as I'm alive. And mostly due to how complex they are, how like connected yet disconnected they are, and let's face it, how freaking weird they look. They create so many questions while also looking like a self-aware, tentacled grocery bag. But ocean life is often extraordinary and almost supernatural in how they work due to the unique ecosystem they've had to survive in. The more we learn about odd species like this, the more we will generate questions on what it truly means to be human. And I'm just going to show these photos once more. The differences between a siphonophore and a regular colonial organism. That one's just fun. And the differences between an individual and a colonial organism.